So here's our timing belt water pump video, and this is the tips and the tricks. So a group just got done with this and they were pretty good. They thought their timing was good and they were very close, but this is a typical little failure here. So this is our 1 cam mark, and you can see it's lined up with that little notch. Now that being off just a millimeter, that's not really off. If it were off, it'd be like a full tooth. So that's actually on. This one's actually on. The problem is this one's hard to line up down here because there's a mark on the belt and it would indicate that it's right. The problem is it's actually a tooth off. If you look in here, I'm gonna shine the light right there. You can see that little pin on the right is 1 full tooth off from that little like dip right there. So this thing needs to move 1 tooth clockwise. Right, this crankshaft, that little dip, which is hard to see, very hard to see, needs to be more like here. Right, so that's 1 tooth off. So I'm gonna redo it now. I'm gonna show you like kind of the tips and tricks. So I'm handing it off to my non-student special assistant who's here to videotape. And if you need this, you can use that one. You need me right now? I'm dropping off this.
No, I just wanted to tell you something funny. Take me about 5 seconds.
Go ahead.
So Russell tells me, I moved your car, and I said, did you have a problem? He says, no. Do you think I'm some kind of idiot? I said, maybe. So I came today to move the car. He killed the battery. He actually killed my brand new battery.
Oh, it's dead?
Yeah.
That's
expensive. I killed it like the tester flying like this.
Junk it. Bummer.
A brand new battery. So no, I don't think he's an idiot.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
All right, so with the belt off fresh, there's a couple things we need to do here. This tensioner needs to be able to slop all the way down, so we kind of keep it out of the way, and that's looking good. Now these belts are sometimes helpful and they're sometimes kind of a pain. So on this belt, it's actually got the left cam and the right cam, but I noticed sometimes it's from the perspective of this being left, but other times in reality, if you look on Toyota TIS, this is the left cam. So we're gonna go with that. And there's a couple ways to do this. Let's get our mark lined up down here, and let's get our marks lined up here. So to do that, I need to hang it. I need to use this SST, which is gonna engage the keyway. And I'm just gonna bump it over a hair. All right, now take a good look at that. I've got that thing lined up now. It's quite difficult to see on camera, at least. Focus on the right thing, Samsung, so you can see that little divot is lined up with that little dot. That is where we need it to stay. So from there, I'm gonna hang the belt on the cam mark, the correct one. I can tuck this under, and I can get this kind of close, possibly, but my main concern is getting the crankshaft lined up. So I just kind of like to hang it up on that top cam first. I need to get it over this idler, and I need to try to slide it on to our mark here. Nothing but the best. And so it can be a little bit more challenging than you'd expect. And then there's a couple little techniques that we need to do. So if I get that on there, and get this on here, I need to fold this up here. Okay, so right now I'm kind of, in my mind, what I'm trying to do is get these to be tight and get all the slack to be on this part of the belt, because that's where the tensioner is. If you have slack here, by the time you turn it, the belt will pull and the crankshaft will twist and you'll end up a tooth off like the last one. And so I've got it where I'm pretty confident I'm on the right mark. And what I really need to do now is make sure I've got all my slack going the right way. So this is where it can get challenging. I'm trying to pull this a tooth over, and it looks like I just got there, But what I'm going to do to help myself is I'm going to use a 17 millimeter, which should be, I'm going to actually use a wrench. I like the wrench Molbetta. So, but thanks for the help. Use 17 right here. What I'm looking to do, I like the opened end because I can pull it both ways rather than the ratcheting end. I can only control it one direction. What I'm kind of looking to do is just bump this over. I'm trying to pull all the slack onto the tensioner right now. And unfortunately, as I was talking, it actually jumped out of its groove. So I need to kind of go back and catch it. So now take a look. I've got it in the groove. And I've got this one in the groove. And I'm verifying I've still got my dot lined up. So the whole key is to get the slack in the right place. Once I get it done like that, I'm gonna slip it on. Okay, I'm kind of keeping my hands on it. I'm gonna manually start to take the tension out with this tensioner right here. And kind of what I need to do next, I need to grab my new tensioner. Where's my new tensioner?
Over here.
With the grenade pin in it. Now this is a lab unit, so the bolts have seen better days, I'm not even gonna lie. So I'm gonna use, we got some bolts. And the whole time I'm keeping an eye on this belt, making sure it doesn't move. And I also, what I like to do, I like to say nice things to it. You're such a good engine. You know, you need to talk nice to it, otherwise he'll jump a tooth. Spin these up. Now, just for demonstration purposes, we would torque this to spec. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna hand snug them, okay? But that's not giving you permission to just wing it. To save a few seconds, let me get these good and snugged up. Although they're fighting me a little bit, so.
It's a 13.
With the wrench, yeah, because we changed it.
Think
It
that's
used
a
to be a
13.
12, but the bolts have seen, the bolt holes had seen better days, so we got some fresh ones in there. All right, so we'll call that torque. You understand? You're torquing it to spec. The next step before we get too far, what I like to do personally, I like to use a nice flathead screwdriver pry bar. I just like to put a little tension on the pulley, and that way it makes it easier to pull the grenade pin. Otherwise you're yanking on this pretty hard. So I just pry up a little right there. And that's kind of got it tensioned. And then this is the real test. This will tell you if you got it right or not. So I need to turn it 2 revolutions. I like my marks, I like my mark, I like my mark, but if we have any slack in the wrong spots, this will end up a tooth off after our 2 revolutions. 2 revolutions because the crankshaft needs to turn twice to make the cams turn once. So we're going to do 2 revolutions here. My mark, and my mark. Video man, verify those marks are good, as if I actually know how to do my job. That one's a little tough to see. Can you see it?
Yeah, I think so.
It's on there. So here's the thing. My first set of like 5 timing belts, I used to actually like to start the engine because I had a couple of what I thought jump, but what it was in reality, I had slack on the non-tension side. So by the time it started, the slack would get pulled out of it, and this crankshaft would be a little bit more clockwise, taking up the slack, and I would end up a tooth off. And so slowly but surely I realized, hey, if I turn it 2 revolutions and I watch the tensioner take up the slack, I know that it's not going to have a problem. I put this together, there's no way it's going to be out of time now. So hopefully that helps you. This one I didn't explain. We got a new water pump. The reason we're going to put a new water pump on, if we do a timing belt and this water pump seizes and breaks the timing belt, you know, interference engine, valves hit the pistons, you know, that's not really, you didn't cause the water pump to fail, but you had a good opportunity to change it and you didn't really help the customer out by not changing it. And if we're going to be in here, it's only going to take a moment to change a couple idlers and a tensioner. So we always recommend the full timing belt tensioner package. with the water pump and everything. And so hopefully this helps you do your job. Hopefully COVID ends soon because this is kind of crappy.